Nets history as we welcome the 18th head coach of the Nets and the first Brooklyn Nets head coach. Before we get started with the question and answer, just wanted to welcome some of Jason Kidd's family to this afternoon's proceedings. First of all, his wife Portia, son Chance, daughter Noah, and Jason's mom, Ann, who is also with us this afternoon. And also not with us because they are in school this afternoon, TJ, Maya, and Giselle. Before we get started, I just want to let everybody know what's going to be taking place. General Manager Billy King will have some opening remarks, followed by the remarks of Jason. Yes, we have some nice gifts for the family. We'll then have a question and answer. Please wait for the microphones. Bryn and Paul will have the microphones. Please just raise your hand. They will get you the microphones. And please announce what affiliation that you are representing so everyone who is watching at home on Yes will know who is asking the questions. So at this point, I'd like to turn things over to the general manager of the Nets, Billy King. Billy?
Thanks, Gary. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. To me, it's an exciting day for the Brooklyn Nets to have a chance to introduce Jason Kidd as our next head coach. When this process started and talked with Mikel and ownership, we were looking for a coach that's going to have great leadership, that can help build us to where we want to get to and show us the direction of helping our players to compete. And we really wanted to resemble Brooklyn, somebody that plays hard and teaches hard, the guys that play hard. And Jason Kidd embodied everything that we were looking for. It was something that we didn't start out looking for Jason, but as I started this process as a general manager, you're always looking at people potentially who could be good coaches because you never know when you may need one. And I had the pleasure of meeting Jason, I think it was in '99 when he was at the USA Basketball qualifying tournament in Puerto Rico. Got to know him then. I was part of USA Basketball as a treasurer. And so throughout the Olympics and been around him and observed him. Had a chance to talk to Coach K yesterday about Jason and did a lot of research. And the one thing I think people will always know about Jason is he was somebody that always worked hard. And that's something I think will translate into the coaching. Does he have a learning curve? Yes, but I think if you know Jason, he doesn't take something and just say, I want to be good at it. He wants to be great. And I know that, and in my meeting with him, he talked about our team. He knew the personnel, talked about how he would use them in certain ways, how he defensively, how he wanted to play. He talked about offensively what he wanted to do, wanted to get up tempo, wanted to get ball movement. You know, he's someone that was an unselfish player. He wasn't a great shooter coming into the league, but I can relate to that. But the one thing he did, he became a very good shooter. I never did. So, but the one thing I do know is that we've got somebody here that's going to work his butt off to make sure we go in the right direction. So without further ado, Jason Kidd.
Thanks, Billy. First of all, I would just like to thank the Nets for this great opportunity. When you talk about 19 years of playing the game that I love, and now having an opportunity to share my experiences and help a team from a different seat. You know, this is a great challenge, and so I'm looking very forward to this. Like Billy says, yes, I have a lot to learn about coaching, but when I played the game, I felt like I was an extension of the coach. And now I look to Darren, you know, to be that guy to execute the game plan that, you know, I think that we can win. And not just Darren, but the rest of the guys on the team. And so, again, I'm very excited. I would like to thank management and Billy for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, at this point, we will open it up for questions. Once again, please raise your hand, and we will try to get to as many as we can. First question will go to Sarah.
Jason, just over a week ago, you still were an NBA player. Now that you're announced as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, can you just describe what goes through your head and the emotions as you sit here today?
Well, I think, you know, you're nervous. I mean, I'm a rookie. I go from being one of the oldest players in the league to now a rookie. coach. And so I'm very excited about this challenge. I think here in Brooklyn we have a special opportunity to achieve that status, and that's to be a championship type caliber team. And so I'm looking forward to being a part of that and helping with structure. But again, sharing the things as a player, as being unselfish, communicating, and being tough, and hopefully I can get that across to the guys.
Before we go to another question, I just want to acknowledge two other people. First of all, Irina Pavlova, the president of Annexum Sports, and Bruce Ratner, the president of Brooklyn. Thank you, Bruce. On the side, right there.
Ben Couch, BrooklynNets.com. Jason, what was it that made the Nets the opportunity you pursued right off the bat when you decided to go into coaching?
Well, I think this, for me, this kind of started in Georgia at a wedding with my agent, and we talked about first retirement, and he asked me, what are your plans? You can only play golf, so many times before you're going to call me and say, what can I do? And so he took the lead in the sense of asking around if there's any opportunities. I had an email from Cuban asking did I want to come back and kind of learn the business side of it. So, and then he talked to the Nets and Billy, and they set up a meeting on Monday, and we talked. Me and Billy talked for a while about basketball and what I thought, maybe I could help, and that's where it went.
Hey, Jason, Andrew Rosario, what's the 411 TV? How soon after you decided that you were going to retire that you wanted to pursue a head coaching position? And if the Nets hadn't offered you the position, would you have looked at another team, possibly from an assistant standpoint as well? I love the game of basketball. And, I guess when you talk about retiring, it was just one phase of my career, and that was playing. And if there was ever an opportunity, or if the people that are close to me understand that I love to be involved with basketball or management. So this was definitely a process. Maybe you can say the process is kind of, has been moved up quite quickly, but I'm excited for that challenge. And, I'm looking forward to working just as hard as a basketball player as a coach.
Before we get to our next question, I just also want to acknowledge the CEO of the Nets, Brett Yormark, who is also here. Sorry about that, Brett. Next question.
John Torrenley, Brooklyn Daily Eagle. Hey, Coach, welcome back to Brooklyn.
Thank you.
I guess one of the words that came up throughout last season whenever there were trying times with the Nets was the word toughness, resilience, things that sometimes the teams didn't exactly respond the way it should have maybe in times of crisis. How in your first foray into coaching here do you expect to get that out of your players?
Well, I think you have to start with structure, understanding we're here to build something, and that you have to have structure and understand, it starts with your leader. And when you look at Darren, I think he's one of the best in the league at that. And so, that's your best player, and also he's the one that is going to relay the message as much as the guys will hear me talking. You also have to police yourselves. And when you look at this is a veteran ball club. When you look at Wallace, Joe Johnson, Lopez, these guys have been in the league for a little bit. So my message is going to be simple. Understand you got to play hard, and you have to play defense. And there's always going to be, we're going to grow together. And that's what's going to make it special.
Right in the middle.
Jason, Rob Powers from Channel 7. Welcome, congratulations. In more general terms, did you always know in the back of your head years ago that this is where you would end up as a coach in the NBA?
I can't say I thought about coming back to Brooklyn or the Nets, but as a player, you have to get better as a player. Work on your weaknesses. My jump shot was definitely a weak spot. I didn't come in the league as a shooter, and I guess some will say I left as a non-shooter. So, for me, it's just a matter of working hard, and I took notes. I would tell Darren, I would tell any player to grab a book and kind of keep a diary, because you never know where the game of basketball will take you. If it's coaching, if it's being, a general manager, or president, or owner, because if you look back at those notes, you can understand how to handle different situations. So I started that process a little bit the year before we won a championship in Dallas. And so I have a lot of notes to look back at, but hopefully I'm prepared with a good staff around me, and I'm excited about this opportunity.
Hey,
Zach.
Hey, Jason. Zach Schonbrunn with the New York Times. Did the success of Mark Jackson as a first-year coach, ex-player, give you any indication that this would be possible, or who else do you look toward, or will you look toward for inspiration?
When we played Mark in New York, I went up to him before the game and said thank you, because he did give guys an opportunity to kind of maybe, crack the door open for guys who are playing to be able to go into coaching. Because of the success that he's had. But you look at some other guys that have done it. Larry Brown, he's a pretty good coach. So there are guys or examples out there that have done it. And so hopefully I can carry that torch and have that same success.
Bruce?
Bruce Beck, WNBC TV. Jason, when a 10-time All-Star becomes a coach, you worry sometimes about the players not being able to do the things that he was able to do on the court for so many years. Do you think you'll be patient to deal with that kind of thing?
Yeah, again, this isn't something that just happened overnight. If you kind of look at my career, I was all right at the beginning. Learning the game of basketball, understanding what it took to win, but later in my career, I was trying to set myself up for the position of maybe one day being a coach. I understand what it takes to come off the bench. I understand what it means when you can't make a shot. So even though I've had some success as a player, I've also had some failures. And so I know what a player feels like when he feels he can't throw it in the ocean. I understand when a player's hot, you got to get him the ball. Hopefully I can rely on the experience I've had as a player, but also, the experience of my staff, being able to lean on them and also talk to Billy a lot, as we go through this.
Right there.
Devin Carpetti in the Brooklyn game. Jason, you have a team right now that's pretty much has its core set and had a disappointing end of the season last year. How are you hoping to improve upon last year's experience with the Nets? How are you hoping to tweak things to improve the team?
Well, I think you look at you have one of the best point guards in the league, and that's a very important position in this game. And then you have a young Lopez is young and very talented, and the sky's the limit for him. And so when you look at the two positions, those are pretty much important. And so those are kind of locked in there. So, my job is to put these guys in position to be successful. When you look at some of the best franchises in sports, you use, San Antonio, we want to be a team that wins 50 games, on a regular basis, 12, 13 years. And so, my job is to put guys in a position to be successful. And also guys, have to be patient and listen, because I was a player and I felt like I knew everything. And so it's always going to be, where we can communicate and we can agree to disagree sometimes. And so, that's what I guess a coach has to understand too.
Bondi?
Jason, Stephen Bondi from the New York Daily News. Do you have a system in mind for this team, a vision of how you want them to play?
Well, the vision is to win. You look at the pieces right now. You have a very talented center. You have some great perimeter. Again, my experience as a player playing Brooklyn was once they got to 88, 89 points, they kind of unplugged. So, I wanted this team to be able to, explore early, kind of get up and down. But you can't forget about, Lopez, because he is the key, a big key to their success. So, but I want to be able to use guys in different positions where Darren just isn't the only one bringing the ball up. But this is a team that's hopefully we can get to 100 points because, they have that type of talent that can put the ball in the basket, but you can't win championships if you don't play defense, and that's where we're going to start.
Over in the back.
Hey, Jason. Pat O'Keefe, News 12 Brooklyn. Given where the franchise stood and when you left in '08, what do you think of all the changes it's gone through? The new arena, the new location, the new look, everything.
I think it's incredible. East Rutherford, I don't think, nothing against East Rutherford, but this is beautiful. When you talk about Bruce Ratner's vision, to be able to see this way before anybody else, and to get the team here to Brooklyn, and you talk about a sports place, you couldn't have a better place to put an NBA team. So this is incredible, and I'm just happy to be part of the family.
Jason, Gemini Keys, NBA. This is a great way to kick off the Father's Day weekend, so congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Jason, would we still be here today if perhaps you would have had a more productive postseason with the Knicks this season?
I've had that question asked, and unfortunately, it had nothing to do without me scoring. My game has never been about scoring, but for me, it was about making the decision that I thought was right, and that was to retire. The game of basketball has been great to me, 2 times over, and one of the things I never wanted to do was to walk away from the game because of an injury. And a knee injury or something where I couldn't come back from. So, I had this conversation with my agent and my wife in Sea Island, Georgia, and, they probably felt he has a little gas left in the tank, but, in my heart, this was the thing to do after 19 years.
In the back, please.
Jonathan Donaldson with BCN. I was just wondering, with the draft just a few weeks away, are there any players you've been looking at or some team needs?
That question must be for you, Billy.
Well, the one thing, we've had a couple workouts this week, and then next week there'll be a lot more, so that'll be, Jason will get involved. He's got the list of the workouts. He's got the summer league schedule, so, he'll get indoctrinated pretty quickly.
Mazio?
Mike Mazzio, ESPNNewYork.com. Billy, what made Jay Kidd stand out in the interview process, and how big of a risk do you feel like this move is, bringing in a guy who has never coached before?
Well, I think really what stood out for me was, his leadership one, and I've seen that before. You see it up close when you talk to him, just his knowledge of the game as we talked, and he was talking about different teams and their sets and how it would work with our team and how it would use personnel in a different way. And then, to me, I think the ceiling for him is very high because I think he has a great work ethic and a knowledge, and I think working together we can build something that can last a long time. Risk, I think anytime you make a hire, I think it's a risk, but you got to believe in your gut and the person. And the one thing about Jason is people have counted him out a lot of times, and he's proved them wrong. And so I've known him for a long time, and his work ethic, I believe he'll be good. I don't worry about guys, the risks. I think, we've taken quite a few risks here in making trades, but I think if you believe in something and believe in the people that you're going after, that it'll work, and that's what I believe in.
Phil?
Philip Bondi, New York Daily News. Jason, there's been a lot of talk about you bringing back Lawrence Frank, or have you talked about your staff yet, and is that a realistic idea?
We're in discussions. I'm thinking about the staff. A lot of people have speculated about Lawrence, and he would be a great candidate. So, but there's a lot of people out there that I'll be giving a phone call to, and so I understand that my staff I will, lean on heavily and learn from, and he would be a great candidate. I guess I can use this as a recruiting tool to for him to join me here, in Brooklyn.
Peter.
Peter Schrager, Fox Sports. Jason, you talked about your relationship with Darren, obviously blossomed through Team USA. Can you talk about the birth of that relationship and your friendship and how that's gone over the years?
Well, I think when you talk about Darren, I got to know, I got to play against him, when he was in Utah and then here in Brooklyn. But I got to really know him during the trials of when we were in Vegas, and then also when we played in the Olympics in China. And he was a guy that I was ready to pass the torch to, because I saw myself in him in the sense of he's a guy that can fill up the stat sheet. And he loves the competition. He works extremely hard. And so that's where it all started.
Charlie Widows, Knicks.com. Jason, as you transition into this new role, what would you say you could take forward that you learned from Mike Woodson last year?
Well, I think Woody's a great coach. You look at, his offense, his ability to execute plays after timeouts. He's one of the best in the league, and so I've been very fortunate in my NBA career to play for a lot of great coaches that I can take maybe little things from and maybe create them into my own.
Jason, Zach Gelb here, WHIP Radio. How do you see Joe Johnson fitting into your offense?
Oh, I think Joe's as good as they come. He's a guy that's very consistent. He's been in this league, and I'm very excited to be able to work with him because he can make the game easy for his teammates and also for his coaches.
Alex Raskin, Wall Street Journal. This is for both Billy and Jason. Do you feel like having Jason Kidd as the head coach makes this a more attractive destination for free agents?
Well, I think it would, yes. I look at Jason as like when Donnie Walsh hired Larry Bird in Indiana. Just his, his future Hall of Famer, his knowledge of the game, and players will want to come play for him. We've got a great building. We're in a great city. So I think adding him is another piece.
Go ahead, Ben.
Ben Couch, BrooklynNets.com. When you were thinking about this role in the Nets as a team, you mentioned moving them up tempo. How might you approach that with the current roster?
Well, you look at Darren as a guy that can get into the open court, and I kind of mentioned earlier that I'm not looking for Darren to bring the ball up every time, and so Joe and Wallace, I think Gerald could be easily a point forward because of the talent. He's athletic. He understands how to play. So when you look at just those guys that I mentioned, those guys all can bring the ball up. And again, in practice early on, we're going to pass the ball ahead. Because I think in this league, a lot of times the ball is dribbled, and we don't take advantage of the pass. And so hopefully we can get that across to the guys early in training camp.
Bruce.
Bruce Beck again. Jason, you've been on both sides of the rivalry, Knicks and Nets. How important is it, do you think, for the Brooklyn Nets to be the best team in New York?
Well, I think it's a great rivalry. I think, it's great for the city, for the people that live here, and hopefully Brooklyn has the upper hand at the end of the day.
Hi, Jason. Lloyd Carroll from the Queens Chronicle. You've always reminded me of another Bay Area native, Clint Eastwood, a man of few words. Are you concerned about the more extrovert needs of your job, being more outgoing with the press, the interview side of this?
No, he's going to put a new rule. He's not talking to you guys. This is the last time you get to talk to him.
Hey, well, if I can learn from Pop, man, Pop has it down perfect. He's my type of guy, so he's the best at coaching and he's the best at interviews, so I'm going to take his lead.
Okay, one last question.
John Torrenley, Brooklyn Daily Eagle again. Coach, most coaches run practice with a whistle in their mouth and watching from the side, but since you're still in shape, will you literally be running in practice?
No, I would have to take a lot of Advil. I'll just keep the running on the treadmill and in the pool, and I'll let the guys do all the running on the court.
Okay, I would like to thank everybody for their participation. We're going to break down, take photos on the stage, and then there'll be limited availability off to the sides with both Billy and Jason. And once again, I thank you, and let's turn it back over to Ian Eagle. Ian?
All right, Gary, thank you very much. Jason Kidd announced as the 18th head coach in Nets NBA history, certainly an outside-the-box choice by Billy King. This started gaining some traction late last week, and then early this week, it appeared as if this was going to become a reality. Jimmy, you've now had a chance to listen to Jason. You know Jason from his days as a player, but this is a new role, and this is going to be a transition and adjustment for him.
Yeah, and I think admittedly when he said, you know, there are going to be some challenges, obviously there are going to be major challenges for Jason Kidd. He's going to have to rely on people like a Billy King from a general manager's standpoint, the organization management. He's going to search people out in terms of figuring out who his assistant coaches are. So one thing about him, he was bright on the floor, he's bright off the floor, and he's going to rely on people to help him because that's the way he played the game also.
There's no doubt. The games, I think, will be the easy part for Jason Kidd. He's used to that. It's the routine around the games that will be part of the adjustment. We'll talk to Jason Kidd, and we'll have much more as we